little bit about fundamentals. I'm going to tell you one thing about, okay, the secret behind a lot of my strategies. Okay, how many of you guys like more than one of my strategies? Okay, have you ever wondered why is that? You know, why is it that every strategy that I come out with, it tends to grab some attention? I'm not like a marketing genius. I'm not doing anything when it comes to marketing. How does it just automatically pick up? No. There is a secret ingredient, if you want to call it an ingredient. It's simple as this. The secret behind this whole concept is buyers and sellers. Okay? Yeah, it is a bit different. That is for sure. And I like to do things differently because if not, then we would all be the 95%, right? Because 95% of the people lose. So whatever is popular does not work. So keeping that concept in mind, I build my strategies. And I build my strategies because people tend to only refer their mind to strategies. Okay? Rather than explaining how the market works and how the market flows, it is easier for a person to look at a strategy and be like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to trade. This is the reason why I create strategies. Okay? It's the ability to change what I'm trying to teach into a different context and give it to you guys so you guys can actually use them. Pro trading strategy is one of those methods where we bring the knowledge of the market into a spin-off way into a language that you understand, which is a strategy or a trading system, if that's what you want to call it. Okay? So today what we're going to discuss is the fundamental parts of the pro trading strategy. Then we'll go into some examples of what's happened the last week and whatnot and so on and so forth. And we can get into stuff like that. So this fundamental that I'm teaching you guys is the key ingredient to a lot. I'm not even talking about a little bit, a lot of my strategies. Okay, I've separated my days. Let's pull out a chart. Which chart do you guys like? Euro USD? Okay, let's choose Euro USD. Okay, so first things first. Remember the power of tails. Okay, what is the power of tails? Look at that thing. Okay, what is that thing? Spikes. Shows pressure, okay? Now, this pieces of information, it's very critical. It helps tell you, exactly, it helps tells you who's in power. The bears or the bull, the buyers or the sellers. Okay? Where is the majority of the power coming in? Now, if I just give you this little piece of concept and I actually show you how strong this is, you're going to be like, well, pro trading strategy is really the tip of the iceberg. You know, the minting is just begun. So let's take a look. Now let's move forward and let me find you an example of the pro trading strategy where it has worked. Okay, is this part of the pro trading strategy right here? Is that a trade right there? Okay, yes, if we count the engulfing. Okay, how about something like this? Okay, you see how many no's we're starting to get now? Why? Is because I've put rules around this thing. Okay, rules around this thing to make your mind refine to a particular way of thinking. Okay, when in reality, when it comes to trading, there is no rules. That is the true idea behind this thing. But regardless, I wanna speed up the process. I wanna speed up the learning curve for you guys. This is why I've thrown in rules for you guys. Now take a look. Take a look. I'm gonna move further. Okay, I'm gonna keep pointing these out. I'm gonna move further. Is this a trade right here? Where's my arrow? Okay? Yes. Good. How about this? Is this a trade? Okay, for those of you who are getting confused, if you guys haven't used the pro trading strategy before, don't worry. You guys can always go onto YouTube and watch the pro trading strategy, and all of the stuff will make sense. We'll recap it in a bit, but yeah. So no for this one. Okay. This one right here. Okay, we got a yes, we got a no, a little bit of everything. Okay. Now, here's another one up here. Your senses should be awake. All right, so we're looking at all this stuff, all this information. We have exhaustions everywhere. We have the advanced level upside down exhaustions kicking in and all that nonsense. The main concept behind all of this stuff, is the buyers and sellers. Okay, how many guys have actually watched the webinar that goes over candlesticks and how the tails tell a tale? Talks about candlesticks, wicks, and tails. Okay, if you guys haven't seen that, watch that also. Get it out of the way. If you cannot find it on YouTube, just go on to Urban Forex. You'll find it there. But I'm going to go over it briefly right here, real quick. Now, anytime you have a tail or a wick, okay, just for the sake of an example, anything that's on top, I'll call it a wick. Anything that's on the bottom of the candle, I will call that a tail. Okay? Everyone okay with that terminology? Okay, or should we make it easier? Okay, anything on top, we'll call it a hat. Anything on the bottom, we call it a tail. It'll be easier for non-English speakers. Okay? Hat on top, tail on bottom. Okay. Anytime we have a hats on top, indicates there are sellers sitting right there. Okay? Anytime we have tails on bottom, indicates we have buyers sitting there. Okay? So we wanted to go to the drawing board, and I want to just show this to you. Okay, everyone should start seeing a white screen now. All right. What is this called? Where the markets just bounce in and out of it. What is this area called? Range, a zone, right? Okay. The markets are basically bouncing from here. It's doing all of this stuff. Okay, it's doing all of this nonsense mess in this. But you will notice to see that you'll have a lot of tails here and you'll have a lot of hats here. So, if the market goes up here and you're interested to buy, that, my friend, is death. If the market comes down to here and you're interested in selling, that, my friend, is death. Okay? Give the money to me. I'll donate it to some charity. Make it to better use. Okay? Now, everyone can see these drawings I'm doing? Yeah, okay. Moving forward. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Delete. Okay. Uptrend. Navin, can we join your pro trading thing? I'm really preoccupied with Forex watchers. I teach them advanced stuff over there. If you guys are interested, we are giving out 40% discounts for forexwatchers.com. Just message them, let them know you're from Urban Forex, and they'll get you that 40% discount, and they'll get you in. We still have some seats remaining in there. We do it every day. We do all this stuff all day long, every day. Not all day, sorry, but every day. Okay, so this is an uptrend, right? This is a channel moving upwards. Same thing for this. Okay, what most people are assuming is that, okay, the markets are going down from here, right? They're going down, and you're like, okay. Around here, many people who are trading with indicators and stuff, they're like, okay, my indicator has finally turned. My RSI, my CCI, whatever it is, it's finally turned because of this. And they start selling here at this point. Well, that again is death, because you have a lot of tails right here, which indicates this is where all the buyers are sitting. Why would you sell to the buyers? Okay, are you out of your freaking mind? Okay, you don't want to do that. Okay, same thing on the top. You know, if you're buying to sellers. Okay, if you're buying somewhere around this area, it's like, well, there's a lot of sellers sitting right here. Okay, so now keep all this information in mind, and now let's take a look at the entire pro trading strategy, and you let me know how your life has changed forever and ever. So the markets come to this area here, and it does this thing, right? For most of you guys, because the way I built the strategy, everyone's focus is here. Here, you know, it's like, you know, that's it. That's an exhaustion-looking thing. Da da da. Every attention span is diverted here. But nobody sees that if the market is coming down in the future over here, it's going downwards, down, 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 down. That selling over here, even though it's broken the pivot, is death. Because there's buyers sitting right here. This is why this thing gets a pivot. There's buyers sitting right there. Then this is the one same area where the market took off from. Not only does it have tails, but the tails actually show you proof that why there's tails. You know, the market shot north. So there's like, holy crap, there's so many buyers there, and the market comes back down to that same area and it hits it again. This should start to worry you that I should not be selling at this area. Okay, now you have selling building up over here. Look at the amount of hats on top here. It's building, it's building, it's building. You know, the market goes into the future, comes around here and bounces and gives you a tail on top. You're like, okay, I can probably take a sell from here because my buyers are down here. My buyers are sitting down here, so I got a little bit of space I can work with. Okay, you sell this stuff, goes all the way down, it breaks through everything, creates this massive area where the buyers are sitting because you have tails, and then you have these big candles shooting out of these tails. You're like, okay, well, this area is of interest to me if the market ever comes around this area, because this is an area I don't want to mess with. I don't want to sell to this area, because selling to this area is death. Okay? Buyers sitting here, shooting up the markets. Okay? Hats, tails, wherever you can find them, mark that area. Sellers sitting right here with these hats, market shooting straight down. Okay? And then it pushes through. It pushes through, but take a look. Right after it pushes through, it knocks it back down. So if it knocks it back down, you're like, okay, well, these guys who are sitting here obviously have some strength, because it tried to push through and it pushed it back down. And it goes up the second time. Well, guess what? It pushed it back down again. Okay, You need some kahunas to get up there. Okay, buying in this area is death. Okay, so same thing applies again and again, time after time after time. Buyers and sellers, where are they sitting? That's all you need to put your focus on. Where are they sitting? And based on that information, things will start to make sense. The understanding of no, forget formations. Formations are for children. The understanding of the relationship between one area to the next is what is going to get you through Forex. Okay? It's understanding why the market turns around from here. It is not because what you see in here and what things pop out in here that makes why it goes long or short or anything. It's the relationship to what it did before that makes the whole world go around. Okay? Why do you know, when I ask you which way is the market going, why does everyone say it's going short? It's because you're using some information from the past to gauge that information. Remember, this is how a baby would look at the market. He just looks at it, he's like, oh, it looks like it's going down. When he looks at this, oh, it looks like it's going up. How does he know this is going up? This up only makes sense in relationship to this. Okay, understand the view of the market. Okay, this looks up only compared to this down move. That's why it's like, okay, things have turned around. It's no longer in a downward motion. Okay, now if you want to call that a trend line break, yeah, you can call that a trend line break, but that means nothing. Okay, it's the relationship to what you see. Okay, because you're going to get a trend line break all the freaking time. Take a look at this. Okay, this right here is a trend line break. Look at that. It went above it. Then what? What are you going to do now? You're going to buy? No, you can't. Why can't you buy? Because of this freaking area. Okay? Understand that concept. You cannot buy just because it's a trend line break. You need to understand that there are sellers sitting right here. Why would you be buying to sellers just because it's a trend line break? People get this misconception again and again and again, and they keep getting burned. Okay? Which is a good thing, which is a good thing. I need to make money too, right? So let them get burned, right? So when they get burned, that's how you make money. It's the understanding what the rest of the world is doing, and so you can do something different is the reason why Forex works. This is the reason why 95% of the people are losing, 5% of the people are winning, or even less. It's because everyone has this thing that, oh, this thing works, and then everybody jumps on that bandwagon. Okay, what's popular does not work. Understand that concept. Okay, Justin Bieber does not work. I should not say that on recording, but yeah. Anyways, looking at this now. All right. So we have massive amounts of sellers here. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at how everything played out in terms of your pro trading strategy. Now that you have this extra piece of information into your mind, you have this new, it's like finding kryptonite. You have this new thing now that you're like, okay, now let me do any of my strategies with this piece of information and let's see where I end up with. Okay, so let's take support and resist. Let's take this webinar is about pro trading strategy, and let's take pro trading strategy for example. Why is this sell right now going to work? Yeah, it has actually very less to do with pivots, but the reason why I use pivots is because people don't understand this concept quickly. They need to use somebody hitting them saying, okay, you do this first, then you do this next, then you do that next. Majority of the people understand only that language. Okay, people don't like to think. They like to be told what to do. So unfortunately, this is the approach I have to bring in. So you can call this support and resistance, but what is even support and resistance? It's sellers. They're sellers. They're sitting right here, these monsters. They're just sitting right there. And how far can you ride this down? Well, there's buyer monsters sitting right here. So this is the whole science behind support and resistance. It's not that, okay, I put my line here and people we're gonna trade lines. This is primary school all over again. We're gonna draw only up to the line. No. What does the line mean? Do you even think about that? You know, that's what you need to do. Think about what something means. Okay? Why does it bounce from a support and resistance areas? What is the reason? Okay? So think about all this stuff, and this is how things will start to make sense. Okay? So now this thing is going down right now. That's the current market. I'm not even looking at that. Okay? Let's take a look at a different pair. Any pair. Give me a pair, guys. What pair do you guys want? Okay, pound. Let's take a look at pound. Okay, so let's scan through and see, did we have any trades recently? Well, okay, let's take a look at this area. Okay, we got an exhaustion there, and we're like, I just don't know if this is gonna work. Well, I know. Why? Because there was buyers sitting right here which shot it up, and this thing just came down to retest that area. Okay, it's gonna bloody work. Okay, how far does it work to? Well, where the selling started slamming. Well, you know that there's one area up here where there's going to be slamming happening. Okay, you know that there's another area here where the slamming sort of started happening. Market, it stopped this big old thing. So you start to be like, okay, I can probably ride it up to that area more or less. And then what do you know? When it gets to this area, look at these tails, these hats, sorry, coming up. You start to see struggle. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Everyone with me? Can I get a yes? According to your strategy, this candle is right before a pivot. Why do you play it? Okay, Martin, that's what I was getting at. When I first released the strategy, I wanted everyone to jump on the rule factor. Okay, follow the rules. Okay, when you follow the rules and you have enough practice with this, doing this day and night, you know that this, like, how fast did it take you to analyze this? Within seconds, you're like, this is not right. It's right below the pivot, right? It took you seconds because you've been doing this again and again and again. You've practiced it. You've back-tested it. You've done whatever you had to do with it to a point where you got it down to the bone. Now, I'm giving you the next step. The next step is, why does a certain level work or doesn't work? Your pivot points on my screen is at 5081. I can guarantee you 90% of you don't have that number, because the pivot points on your screen are going to be slightly off because your server time is different. Okay, so can I use pivot points to the bone? Yes, I can. But am I really using them? The whole science behind it is because somewhere around this area we had strength. This is why a pivot point showed up. Okay, what is a pivot point? Think about it. It's the average of the previous day's move. Anytime it does all this up and down nonsense, it starts drawing lines. So it's now what we're looking at is the science behind, the theory behind why the pro trading strategy works. Why is it a really famous strategy? Why does it have 5 stars every freaking where? Okay, so when we look at this area, when it's slammed here, right? Okay, when it's slammed here and the market gets up to this area, you're not seeing any hats. If you see hats starting to come up, you know that this area is a potential sell area. And if you had to sell based on your system or strategy, you can sell. What is the best part about this is when you sell from this area, it goes down in your favor, and if it doesn't work, you have enough time to cancel that trade. Break even or zero. But why take a trade that goes immediately into a loss? Let it go immediately into a profit, and then you decide it's fate. You guys get what I'm saying? Okay. Moving forward. Okay, so yeah, we were looking at more examples. Okay, let's see. Where do we got more exhaustions? Okay, let's take a look. We got one thing right over here. A little bit of fat exhaustion right here. Market's coming slamming down. Okay, we're buying in the face of this thing. Sorry, I have to go. No video editing, by the way. Have a great weekend. Okay, Lars, take care, buddy. And I will contact you for video editing. I will hold you to that. Okay. So we see this exhaustion pop out here, and we start to analyze, will this work? You know, according to the pro trading strategy, yes, everything looks good, but will it work? Okay, we just came in the face of these sellers. The sellers are sitting up here where they're slamming this thing down. Well, the buyers, some weak buyers were sitting here where they slowly pushed it up, you know. And then it comes all the way down till here, and it creates this thing, this tail here, and you got nothing to compare it to. You're like, wait a minute. First of all, when I look at this, I see, massive downtrend coming in. Okay, so what am I doing? Well, let me check. Shall I connect my lows as well? Let's connect my lows as well. Oh, okay. So looks like I'm in a buyer zone. Looks like I'm in the buyer zone. Here, let me increase the volume. Is that better? Can you guys hear me just fine now? Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry, but yeah. Just bear with me. Okay. So it's doing all this, and it's like, okay. Okay, I'm in the buyer zone. I'm not in the seller zone. I'm in the buyer zone. I can try this. Okay, things are matching up. I'm getting tails. I can try this. It goes up long, goes up to here, and then it gets rejected. Fine. Even if it comes all the way back down, I can still scratch that trade because I'm in the buyer zone. This is why the trade gets enough fuel to go. If you're selling from up here, you're going to get enough fuel to go down short. Okay? If you're selling from over here, you're not going to get fuel. You're going to get killed. So understand the flow of the market. Understand the relationship from one area to the next. Okay? Don't just put all of your focus and attention here and say, okay, well, it touched it, made an exhaustion, let's do this. Okay? And of course, I built this whole thing in such a way where it still keeps you alive because of the way I've made all this, but the reality of this whole science behind it comes from this whole overview picture. Okay? So now that you have this piece of information, you have this newfound technique now where you're seeing all this stuff and you're like, okay, well, this was coming in, right? Where did it come in from? We were drawing it from here? Or this was coming in from a downtrend. Market comes down, it slams all the way down here, and then it starts making these tails. It bounces off of a pivot line, makes this tail, and starts hovering. Whoa. Could this be that this is a buyer area? Well, yeah, look at that. Look how it pushed it up. And then the same guys who were slamming it here slammed it again. You know, but the buyers are here. The buyers are sitting here and be like, listen, man, I'm going long. You coming? You go with them, and then the sellers are like, oh, wrong move, buddy. I'm taking you out. But even if it takes you out, you have plenty of time to scratch that trade. So it's knowing this entire relationship with each other that can I predict if this is going to work ahead of time. If I tell you you need to trade something and I'm going to give you $1 million, how many of you guys actually know the trade's going to possibly work out really well? Okay, everyone's flipping a coin. It's like, I don't know. This strategy looks pretty good. I'm going to try it. But with this, you know. you have the upper hand now because you're actually looking at this. Now, what happens here? Take a look. I'm going to explain to you what happens here. Everyone, once they see this, right? This sudden slam. Everyone's like, holy crap, this thing is going down. I need to hit sell. Everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is selling right here. Sell, 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 sell. No clue that they're in this downward channel right here. And then everyone gets taken out, and then it sells. And then you know what they're thinking? Oh, it was a sell, I just got in at the wrong place. And then they repeat the same mistake again, because it did go into a sell. It just took them out. So it's like, damn broker, stop hunting, I hate that guy. And it's all pointing fingers. You know, it's my broker stopping me out. It's these big wicks, these bankers, these hedge funds. Dude, you know, no need to do all that stuff. Okay, so market continues down short. It starts to change direction. You can see now that you now have higher lows. Remember that the thing that we do with urban towers? You know, you're counting your legs. Same thing. Higher low, higher low, higher low. Okay, so if you're going this higher low momentum, will this exhaustion work? Hell yeah. Okay, because you have support from these buyers at the same time. Okay, and this is why this thing gets fueled with some strength. Okay, if you can call this confluence or whatever you want to call it, where you have two things saying the same thing. But you should fall in love with these tails and hats. It's like it's golden. Right? Okay, everyone with me so far? Making sense? Anyone confused? Okay, good, good. I hope that those yeses are not for confused, right? Okay, let's move forward. Correlation for US dollar pound. Pound is out of correlation for now, for a bit. You guys need to check that. Alright, let's see this thing. So what do we have? We have a downward movement. How do I know that it's no longer in this uptrend? What makes me know that this uptrend is dead? Because those who are riding this up, these buyers, just gave it all back. And it got overridden. So now the sellers are in control. This is the reason why you have what we call a lower high. Your high was here. Now you have what we call a lower high. So if these sellers are in control, why would you be interested in buying at this area? Okay? It's dangerous. You don't want to do that. Okay? So we concoctionate trend line, supply and demand to confirm. No, not supply and demand. Support and resistance. Supply and demand is just focusing on the areas where the market shoots from. It's basically saying the same thing with a little twist on it. Okay? Supply and demand confirm our entry and exit. Yeah, basically stuff like that. You get to know, if you're going to ride this, how far it's going to go. For example, look at this. When you see this tail come till here, you're like, yes. You know? This is a sign of happiness. You're like, I can ride this. Because the market shot up from here, it came back down. People refer to this as a double bottom. It's not a freaking double bottom. You know, why is it a double bottom, you know? They just they like to rename stuff again and again. This is a double bottom. Okay, double bottom, I'll give you that. But how do I know this double bottom is worse than this double bottom? How do I know this one's stronger? Nobody knows, because that's not taught. They just want to label it. It's a double bottom or head and shoulders or this or that. Find out the reason behind stuff. So in this particular one, you have the similar scenario. Look at all these tails here. The market comes down with this big tail. You're like, yes. You go long, you can ride it till your next area. Does it have to be exhaustions all the time anymore? No. Now you have the sense of idea of how the markets are flowing. Okay? Now, take a look at this. Range bound. Market comes down till here. There's potential buyers because they slammed it to the north, or not slammed it. I guess, what do you want to call this? Rise it from the dead? I guess you can call it like that. Okay, support and resistance zones plus exhaustion candles lookalikes is a good trade. Thanks. Should we wait till candle close to enter a trade? Yeah. Candle close is always good. Many times what you can do is you can go onto the smaller time frame to see that what happened here. For example, if you're looking at this, you can actually go down to the smaller time frame and be like, 22nd of May, well, what the hell happened? Sorry, where is 22nd of May? 22nd of May. There we go. 22nd of May. You have this area to get in from. Like, voila, bingo. Hourly comes along. Wow, that circle is really small, right? It's somewhere around here that you got in on this line, remember? So you got in from here. You can still write, look at that, that's pretty decent. It's not bad. Okay, even if you write it to the next pivot line where you see this slamming starting to happen. Okay? Like 47 pips there. It's pretty decent. Okay, which time frame was the lower one? It was 15. But always remember one concept. It's not going to the lower time frame that makes a difference. It's the understanding of one thing and one thing only. If I'm trading on the 1 hour and then I suddenly go down to the 15, how many candles of 15 make up the 1 hour? You need to know this relation. It's not that in 15 minutes this candle closes. Big deal, everybody knows that. Okay, so that's the way we look at this stuff. Okay, actually another friend of mine was actually also pointing out this stuff hardly today on the way we trade actually at forexwatchers.com with certain swings and stuff like that. He put a lot of pressure on me about these buyers and sellers where they're sitting, and it's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. Would you say this area is quite good? Abby, yes, it is recorded, but it's very hard for me to upload these things. So I'll try my best to upload this quick. Okay, market comes up. What do you know? Look at that. Same area, right? Same bloody area. It does the same thing there. Big tail up, and you're like, whoa, what is this? It's an exhaustion, right? I had to go through all this research so I can get you guys a strategy that you can do blindly. But now I'm trying to open your eyes. Now that you have the strategy down, you guys have been practicing it again and again. Now actually open your eyes and see why is it working? You know, what is the theoretical reason behind it? Okay. And then the selling comes in from here. You see this tail coming in, comes in from here. A bunch of sellers sitting right here. Okay. And then it just crashes. It just crashes. And once it crashes, you see this area, this whole area here, like, well, look at how this thing bought from here. If you just know that information, you would not sell after this. Most people will, because they're going to be like, holy crap. I want to say something else, but holy crap, the market's going down, sell, sell, sell. But there's buyers sitting right here. Okay, so you know that if you want to do this with your eyes closed, you want to close your eyes. This is why I tell you that this is your guaranteed profit zone. Because this line is created because of this from the past. Now you see why I say your next line is your guaranteed profit zone. It's actually can even go further. But I don't want you guys to take that risk. This is why I created the entire strategy in such a way that when anyone uses it, they're like, wow, this thing is awesome. Yeah, it's awesome, but Why is it awesome? Do you even know? So hopefully after today, everything all makes sense now. Why we do a certain thing in a certain way. Okay? And this is what urban Forex is all about. So yeah, we're still working on bringing out some experts in here to show their methods and ideas, and like I said, education is very important. Don't get me wrong, education is always going to be important. So look at this, Swiss franc, right? Getting ready for a buy. What did we see on euro? Remember this? Euro getting ready for a sell. Okay, well, doesn't it look like the sell just might happen and the Swiss franc buy just might happen? Do you need an exhaustion to tell you? Yeah, you look for the hats and the tails. You understand the what kind of channels you're in, the overall direction of the market. So if you're going to sell here, for example, if you're selling somewhere here, right? Is it a possibility that this trade will not work? Yes, there's absolutely a possibility every freaking time. But at least when you're selling here, it sells. It sells. It sells. And then, buyers are kicking in maybe. We don't know. Are we going to break this area? We don't know. The buyers are kicking in. What happens? The buyers start kicking in. Well, these are hourly candles. Don't tell me you don't have enough time for this. You'll have plenty of time to be like, oh, looks like this trade's not going to work out. I'm going to scratch this trade. Take your 10, 20 pips out of there. Call it a day. Wait for the next one. But you have time to scratch that trade. You don't have to sit here because you sold here, and then once it turns around, you're like, crap, it's a loss. Always make sure you have space. If you have space, then you can actually write it, and if it doesn't work, you can scratch it. Why give away any money at all? Okay, make sense? Yeah, to the bone. Okay, DZ Buzz, is there a divergence on Swissy to confirm a buy? Okay, let's take a look at divergence. Let's see. Divergence. I don't have divergence, but I'm going to delete this indicator, close this. I'm going to insert stochastics, standard settings. Okay. And we see this thing. Yeah, well, look at this. Even a divergence is sitting there and we're like, listen, dude, let's do this. But take a look at this. Take a look at this. How cool is this? This is where actually the divergence started, right here. Okay? As you can see, the markets are coming down here. This is the first area it went below the previous low. And we had the divergence. Most people will go long here. Gives plenty of time for the bigger players to scratch them or to take their stops out, because where are their stops? I don't need a broker or a hedge fund to tell me where everyone is keeping their stops. I bloody know just by looking at this. If everyone's buying here, they're going to keep their stops obviously below the recent low. That's just a normal thing to do. So for me to stop them out, I just got to go below that. Okay, and then I take it north. So it's like, oh, it was a buy. See, I told you divergence works. Yeah, but after getting stopped out. You guys get what I'm saying? Okay, no, I'm not. You guys are asking me to confirm. I'm not going to confirm. I've taught you guys so much today. You guys tell me if I should buy. Should I buy now on US dollar Swiss franc? Or are you guys going to make me a loss? Okay, let's take a look at Euro USD. Looks like a potential sell there. Okay, let me give you another heads up advice when it comes to stuff like this. Okay, at this point, do you know that Euro USD is going to go down? Okay, yeah, you have a pretty high chance, right? You have a pretty high understanding that yeah, it's going to bloody go down. But did you know at this first red candle that it was going to do that? Probably not. Did you know on the exhaustion, when the exhaustion showed up, is that when you got the idea that, okay, this confirms it, because look at that hat. Okay, it tells you that, right? So it's telling you that it's going to possibly go down here. Now, if it's going to go down there, where are you going to keep your stops? At the normal location, slightly above your high. Okay, so if you're going to keep your stops there, all you need to do is you need to measure it. See, like, how far am I from the high? That's like 44 pips. That's 44 pips. Let the market retrace a little. Let it retrace a little so you can have some space to get in. And now it's like, whoa, there's only 25 pips if I got in from here. So this is what happens when you lower your stop amount. You have probability to get in at a stronger price. Your stops are lower, and you have more move to the downside in case it doesn't go and you need to scratch it. So the closer you can get this to the top, the better it is for you. If you miss it, don't chase it. Okay? Don't suddenly sell it here if it's gone. Because again, what is that called? Death. Sucker price. Yeah, there you go. Herd. Okay, so US dollar CAD. What do we see for US dollar CAD? We have this upward momentum here. Nothing really that I can see. Let me get rid of this stupid indicator. Okay, let's take a look. Swiss franc, right? Swiss franc, your first indication was this one. You're like, okay, this is it. You got this thing and you're like, whoa, I'm doing this. Because why? My correlating pair is telling me let's do this. Okay, and you're seeing all this stuff. You're like, okay, looks like we have tons of space also to go long. It's not like I am buying here. So I got tons of space though. So my first indication was this. This big tail that showed up. We're like, woo, beautiful. Okay, at the close of that candle, I measured and I'm like, that's 30 pips away from my stop to be. It's got to be like 34, 35 pips. That's a little bit too much for me. Let me wait till it retraces a little. Let me get it in under 20 pips or so. Once it comes down a little bit, then you measure it. You're like, okay, now I got it under 20. Now if I write it north, I have more space to write it to the north. My stops are smaller. My ratio for risk to reward has increased. I'm doing 2:1, 3:1, 5:1, 20:1, whatever it may be. But your ratio and everything increases in case you scratch. If it actually shoots through, hey, you're golden. You're minting money. You can just take the week off. But if it doesn't and you see it's holding here, because there's slammers right here, which we know, and then you see it holds there, you're like, okay, this is it. I gotta close. Can't hold it anymore. It's done. And what is this slammer area? Well, what do you know? It's a support and resistance area. Yeah, of course we can look at it as support and resistance. Okay, this is why my support and resistance strategy does so well too. It's because the fact of understanding this whole concept. That's why I added that missing ingredient of the strong candle. This is why my support and resistance work better than the average support and resistance, because of this additional piece I've included. But everything revolves around where the buyers and sellers are sitting. Capiche? Okay, so we go, when you draw lines, they appear on the pair charts. How do you make it only show on, wait. When you draw lines, they appear on other pair charts. Manuel, I didn't get your question. Can you rephrase that and ask me again? What is the red number? That's a candle timer, Giovanni. It tells me that in 59 minutes and 17 seconds, this candle will close. We're on the hourly chart. So it's just a countdown timer. It's actually useless, but helps only with 4 hours. Okay, when I draw a line on all pair, how do I make it appear only on the pair I want? It's only a coincident luck. I still didn't get your question. You're asking how do I make it appear only on the pair I want? When I draw lines, they appear on all pairs. They're not supposed to appear on all pairs. Unless your template, if you have your line like this, I think I know why. If your line is like this and you save your template and you're reloading this template on the other pairs, it's going to come with this line. That might be the reason why, but it should only do that on the same currency pair still. Okay, so yeah, so now let's spend the next 5-10 minutes before we close the session. Ask me questions that you guys have. Any questions? Guys, remember one thing. When it comes to the community at Urban Forex, make use of it. Listen, you're not going to pick up and proceed and progress unless you take screenshots, you post them, you share them with your peers, you get feedback on them, you give feedback. This is what makes you a better trader. Okay? So be involved in the community. You know, look at everything. Don't disregard anybody. Don't look at anybody and criticize them that what you're doing is wrong. My way is the only right way. You know, I don't like people like that. You know, I accept anything. There's a scalper out there, you can hug him. Like, it's okay, man. I know. Okay, so where do you get your candle timer? Please advise. I think DZ Buzz, you'll get the candle timer on urbanforex.com, or you can just search for it on Google. You'll find it. Maybe I can even attach it here. I'm not sure. Yeah, just Google it. It's probably easier. Diagonal trend line versus horizontal support and resistance. Is it good to use both? Yeah, sure. Why not? Because remember. Why are you drawing your horizontal support and resistance lines? Why? Why do you draw this? Because the markets come down and turn around from here. That means this is significant. Because they came and they turned around from here. Okay, and then support becomes resistance, da 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 da, so on and so forth. Yeah. What is the first thing you note on a fresh chart? The overall perspective of where the markets are headed. Okay, I see that the markets were going long, and then the sellers came in, they took it all, the buyers gave it all back. Now the sellers are in control, and since the sellers are in control, I'm expecting lower highs every time. I'm not expecting my highs to come up to this area. I'm expecting lower highs. Yeah. So if you're able to spot a sell somewhere around here and you see it aligning with this kind of stuff where it's like, okay, it's going to, there's sellers or buyers here, and you can align that. This is more powerful because these moves are stronger than the retracements to the north. You see, if you were to buy now, you're buying a retracement. Okay, you're buying to longer time frame sellers. The longer time frame, this is a downtrend, and what they're doing is they're just waiting to hit this into a sell. So it's still a risky area where they're going to be like, the moment they see it's acceptable, they're going to be like, boom, sell. They're going to blast it down, or slam it down. Sorry. I'm using ProTradingStrategy with MP indicator. Am I doing it right? Okay, same thing I explained in MP indicator, right? When I did the webinar for the MP, why do I choose the MP? When it makes those areas, you know, those small areas, it's the same thing. It's a support and resistance area. It's where the market turns around from. MP is market profile, or Navin Prithyani. Okay, look at Euro USD. Okay, let's take a look at Euro USD. Oh. There we go. There you go. See? Now with this piece of information, do I need to sit here and cross my fingers, cross my toes, and be like, come on, God, please, 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 please? You know, I'll go to church on Sunday and I'll put extra offering. You know, no, you're not doing any of that stuff anymore. Because you know, you're expecting it, in fact. When you expect things, they play out. Because you know it so well, you're expecting it. You're no longer hoping. Okay. What is the correct thing to do if you get a hat that closes just above 2 pivot points? Do you have to wait till the break through the other pivot point? Not necessary. A pivot point will always, you know, for example, your pivot point. I'm drawing on the wrong computer. The pivot point can always be like this, you know. It can be on top, or it can also be on bottom, and you're gonna be like, oh, can I sell because there's a pivot point right there? You can sell because you have this information. Okay. But the reason why I don't give that in the beginning when I teach the stuff, it scares people. It scares people because they don't have a system to follow. Everyone is so used to following a system, they just can't understand this concept. So we're like, let them follow a system, and then we'll show them the right way later. Okay, you mentioned today a lot on how it reaches a group of buyers and sellers and it usually reverses. What happens when it breaks through a strong candle? This is how our support and resistance strategy came into play. Strong candles. Okay. Can you guys give me a moment, please? Just yeah, real estate agents. Okay. Would you have bought on the first red candle? Bought? Which first red candle? You mean bought or sold? Okay, let me go with the questions one by one. So Raymore, I answer your question. Yeah, Manuel, you mentioned today a lot on how it reaches a group of buyers and sellers. Usually reverses. What happened, Nicole? Would you have bought on the first red candle? Sold on the first red candle? No, because this doesn't give me enough indication quite yet that there is something here. Only when the next candle came up and I saw this huge hat, I got interested. I'm like, oh, well, what do you know? You know, same thing with Swiss franc. You know, look at this tail. That got me interested. So, and look at the market just moving. You know, you don't even have to worry about it. It's just moving. You know. So, do you trade solely price action? No, price action is a trend. Everybody wants to do it. It's like this new wave of trading. That's okay, let everybody do it. As long as we know what everyone's doing, we can get on the other side and win. Okay, always remember that concept. Whatever is popular will get slammed because there's a lot of money there. Why don't you trade the pin bars at the moment? Do you have active trades right now? No. I'm just sitting here talking to you guys. I haven't traded in such a long time, actually. I'm looking to actually retire soon, and I'm trying to go do some seminars because I really enjoy teaching, if you guys haven't noticed. You guys can see the way I teach with all the stuff with confidence. Like, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun for me. And helping people, seeing people open their eyes. I'm like, whoa, thank you so much. That really, I enjoy that a lot. Like, so if it's the hype, then we should always look for new methods. No, why new methods? Well, okay. Putting it that way, it's never. What I try to do is I try to learn everything. It's the education of knowing something is how you will know it doesn't work. You know, how do I know that what a trend line break is if I just follow my method? But I learned a trend line break, and I'm like, oh, okay. So this is where everybody is gonna buy because the trend line is broken. So if they're buying, how do I get rid of them? I'm gonna sell, right? And then I'm gonna buy once it sells them out, and then I'm gonna buy. So I'm like, okay, trend line break. Everyone is going long here. I'm just gonna wait. I'm going to wait till they're all stopped out and then I get in. That's all I have to do. I don't need a special system, a guru, a mentor, a strategy, a system, nothing. I just need to know what you know and be on top of that. This is what we teach hardcore at Forex Watchers. So yeah, if we keep Urban Forex alive because of Forex Watchers. We have quite a bit of members there. So everyone who's part of Forex Watchers, thank you so much for keeping Urban Forex alive. And those of you who are from Urban Forex, if you're interested in joining the membership at Forex Watchers and you want to join, go ahead, just send us an email, let us know you're from Urban Forex, and we'll get you a 40% discount to join. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys, and wish you guys good luck. I hope this was very educational for you guys. Alright, guys, take care. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week.